Hello and welcome to video number 7 in my design education series. Today I'm going to be talking about how to hire a contractor and what you should do to prepare for construction. For today's video, I decided it shouldn't just be about my expertise and opinion, so I called in the expertise and opinion from a pair of contractors I work with often. They work for a company called Collado and Lima Home Improvement. They are Carlos Collado and Marco Lima. And if you're watching on my Instagram platform, I have tagged them in the post below, so go check out their page as well. So to make things more fun, I'm going to start not by talking about what you should do, but what you shouldn't do, because I think everyone could use a little bit of lighthearted comedy these days. So here we go. So here's what not to do. Don't go and hire somebody to do work in your home that approached you on the street, let's say. They have no licensing, no qualifications, no website, no business card, and call themselves a contractor. And beware of the one-man band is what I call it. So the contractor who claims to do everything themselves and do everything well. Nobody does everything well. Everyone has a weakness. And when your home is being built, you should not be having people in there doing work that is their weakness. You need to make sure the contractor is subbing out the work they're not comfortable doing or they don't have the expertise and tools to complete. So here's the reason I thought doing this video would be important. I once had clients hire me after they'd hired the contractor. And at the very beginning of the project, he seemed unsure about everything. I'd show him my design drawings. He looked confused. And I thought, has he never done construction before? He doesn't know how to read construction drawings. And a few weeks later, I was trying to get in touch with him, couldn't get in touch with him, called the clients couldn't get in touch with him, and guess what happened? He took their money and took off. And when I dug deeper in the process these clients had gone through in hiring this person, I found out he was a friend of a friend of a friend's referral. And that person, it turns out, had got his name from a porch drop flyer, and nobody checked references, and then he asked for a 50% deposit. No contractor is going to ask you for a 50% deposit. That is completely insane. So beware and listen to this video if you're ready to hire a contractor. Here we go. How to hire a contractor. Step 1, get referrals. So ask family, ask close friends. I would say not a friend of a friend. If you're going to get that referral, jump and go straight to that person. Ask how the project went. Ask how it was working with that contractor. If you don't have somebody you can get a referral from, walk through your neighborhood. Chances are, in Toronto, everybody's renovating, that somebody has recently done a renovation. You'll see signs of contractors posted on their front lawn. Don't go to the sign first. Go to that homeowner. Ring the doorbell, drop a note in their mailbox, say, hey, I'm thinking of renovating and I'm looking for a good contractor and I've noticed that you renovated. Is this somebody you would recommend? Did you have a good experience with them? And see what they say. Step 2 is, now that you've scoped out somebody or maybe a few options of companies, you need to go and scope them out on social media, on their website. Look at pictures of their work. If they have testimonials posted, read the testimonials. Get a sense of how long they've been in business. What kind of work are they doing? Does it align with what you need them to do? While you're checking out their websites, check out their credentials. They should be a member of BILD, B-I-L-D. They probably will be a member of Better Business Bureau. They should be licensed in Toronto. Look for all of these things. If there is nothing listed, send an email and ask, what are your credentials? Step 3, and I think this is probably the most important one, is contact them directly and ask for a referral beyond the person who referred you to them. So you're asking them for complete strangers who you don't know, who you can have a quick phone call with, or maybe you can correspond by email and ask them how their experience was working with that company. It goes without saying, but I'll say it anyway, a good place to get a referral for a contractor or builder is through your architect, interior designer, or decorator. We all have people we work with regularly who we are confident are going to do a fantastic job, be easy to work with, and most importantly, are not going to run away with your money. Okay, all jokes aside, the next step is you should go and see their work in person. I recommend in person. So most contractors will have a couple of clients in the past who are willing to have you come into their home for half an hour, walk through. You can ask them about what was changed, what was done, if there were any hiccups on the job, because there always are, how were they handled, that type of thing. So you're asking for these referrals, but you're also going to follow through and go and meet with one of them and actually see the work in person. Okay, so now you've probably chosen someone you like, or maybe you have a couple of options. So now you want to get a quote. You obviously need drawings, so hopefully you've already obtained those from an architect, interior designer, decorator. But what you need to do when you're giving quotes, especially to more than one company, you want comparison quotes, is to make sure you're giving the same drawing. So don't give one drawing and then in the meantime your architect or designer comes back with a revision and then you give the revision to the next person. Make sure when you're getting a quote that the drawings are the same across the board. You're comparing apples to apples, because depending on what that revision is could be a huge price changer, and then you're not fairly comparing. And it doesn't matter now if you're giving slightly outdated drawings, because as the process begins, drawings are going to update anyway. What you want to do is make sure you have a flat line base or a benchmark you're creating to figure out who you're going to hire. And then when you've done that, you can talk about, hey, this has changed. Can you tell me what the cost of this thing is going to be? And it may be an extra. So let's talk about extras for a minute. Extras. Extras are a hot topic with construction. So Colado and Lima asked to include this in the video. So here it is. When you go to the people who referred you, you need to ask about how they handled extras. When you get a quotation, at the end, there should be a fine print. And the fine print's going to tell you what's included and what's not included. And there should be a clause or a statement about how they deal with the extras. There's nothing worse than finishing a project and you think, oh, it's great, it's all on time and on budget. And then the contractor hits you with the extras bill that you didn't know about. So here's what should be happening. Extras should be clearly outlined. Is it time and materials? How are they doing it? And whatever way they want to do it is fine. You can work that out with them as well. But as extras come up, there should be some documentation, even just a quick email saying this extra came up and this is going to be the cost. And then everyone shares that email so that there's no surprises in the end. You can keep track of this tallying bill. Hopefully there aren't too many extras. And at the end, when you get that bill, it's not a surprise. And that goes for credits too. And so credits are less often, unfortunately. The extras seem to be more common. But it does happen where, you've expected the worst and then you open a wall and you're like, oh, actually, it's not as bad as we thought. And so now we have all these other options and they're a little bit cheaper. So that should be kept track of. And usually a contractor will say, okay, well, that saves us a couple $1,000s. So then everyone is aware of it. And then when an extra comes up, that's a couple $1,000s, guess what? It's a wash. Okay, so let's assume you have found the contractor you would like to work with. Everything's great, you've signed the contract. Let's talk about the deposit for a second. All contractors are going to ask for a small sum of money to reserve your project in their schedule. This is usually 5%. I've seen it up to 10%. That is a normal amount. Do not give anyone 50%. It's not needed. Usually then what they'll do is they'll say, when construction day starts, we want another deposit. And that's because they are already pre-booking dumpsters, they're pre-staffing, getting their materials ordered. So they're going to ask you for probably another 10 to 15%. And then the rest of the payments should be milestones throughout the project. So there may be a pre-drywall payment or a post-drywall payment. There may be, once they have certain inspections, they're asking for another payment. But these should all be outlined in a contract so you know what to expect so that there are no surprises in the end. And again, do not give anyone a 50% deposit. Okay, so you've given your 5 to 10% deposit. You sign the contract. Everyone's ready to start. Here's what you need to do to prepare for construction. First and foremost, unless you're doing one room in your house, you need to move out. And there's a few reasons for this. First, it's very disruptive to live in a house under construction. Construction hours are usually 7 a.m. to 3 or 4 p.m. And that means they're starting to make noise at 7, which means they're showing up around 6:30 to prep all the materials, get all their tools set up, and be ready to start at 7. So unless you're an early bird, I suggest you move out. Second thing is mess and dust. If you have anyone who has breathing difficulties, allergies, asthma, it's not fun to be around, especially if your project involves drywall, plaster dust, move out. Floor refinishing, move out. The other thing is, and probably the most important, is that you're going to be in their way. You're going to be traipsing through constantly where trades need to stop working to let you by. They have to worry about sealing off your house, moving your belongings around. It really makes it a much slower process. And guess what? Time is money, so that means it's going to cost you more as well. This next step, I think, is at the homeowner's discretion, but I always think it's a good idea, so I'll mention it, and that is notify your neighbors, and particularly the neighbors who maybe are not so friendly, you don't get along so well. Let them know. Maybe a bottle of wine is in order. Also tell the neighbors you really get along with well. Construction's disruptive, not only the noise, but it means there's going to be dust kind of billowing over on their property, and it means that people are going to be parking in front of their house and all that fun stuff. And although it's really not a big deal in the end, most people just want the courtesy of the warning. And then they're usually okay to live through all the inconveniences. Here's a big one. Get your finances in order. So when you are beginning your project with an architect or designer, they can probably give you a sense of what your project's going to cost. The surprise should have kind of happened then, although sometimes when we submit drawings, costs of things have gone up. That certainly happened after Trump came into power and all the trade agreements and everything, prices went up. So the contractor is going to price your job. You're going to get that in your quote. So now you're going to see the payments, you're going to see the percentages, you can figure out the math and figure out when these payments are probably going to be. The contractor and designer are going to give you a project timeline or an expectation of how many months. Get the finances in order. Make sure when that next payment is coming up that you have the money ready to go. Not paying will eventually mean that the job site stops and there is no progress, or it slows down. And so if you can have your finances in order, everything runs quickly and smoothly. Okay, this is one I feel strongly about, and that is commit to your drawings and your finishes choices. So things happen along the way, products get discontinued or they run out of stock. This is especially true now during COVID-19. Factories around the world are shut down, so there's limited supply. Some of them unfortunately have gone under forever, so there's some reselection that has to happen on the designer's end. But as much as you can commit to everything up front, that's going to save you time and money down the road. So beware of changes and beware of changing your mind. Changing your mind about everything all the time makes the project slow and expensive, not to mention it annoys everyone involved. So this one's not really about preparing for construction, but preparing yourself during construction to be a good client, and that means make your decisions quickly and pay on time. Oh, and stay out of their way. The final thing is to be a good communicator. If you are not tech savvy, have somebody help you or choose one method of communication with your team, your contractor, designer, architect, everybody. Email is a great one. I've even shared some of the Google Calendar platforms so everyone can keep informed of what's happening when on the job site, when deliveries are showing up, etc. You need to make sure you check your emails and messages regularly, especially when you're traveling. And you need to make sure that you make yourself available on a regular basis for site visits. Now, if you've hired your designer, decorator, architect to do a little bit of the project management for you, they can be doing the weekly meetings with the contractor, completing meeting minutes to send back to you. But I'd say at least every month or so, you should be there to check in with everybody. And it doesn't mean you need to be there in person. I've worked with clients overseas where we did this over Skype or FaceTime, and that worked out well too. But you need to make sure you have a chunk of time in your schedule on a regular basis to communicate with everybody. Before I wrap up the video, I want to say thank you to Carlos and Marco of Collado and Lima Home Improvement for taking the time to go through my notes and add their input. You guys are awesome. As a side note, they built this office. It's awesome. That's it for today, and this is actually the last video in my design education series. I will be starting another video series soon that'll be more specific to the interior design selection process. That's all I'll say for now, so stay tuned. It's been great. If you have any questions, you can always message me. If you're watching on Instagram, DM me. Otherwise, through my website, send me a message on the contact page, and I'm happy to answer your questions. Thanks for watching.